Welcome to another episode of the Whiskey Roundtable. I am your host, Big G.
Karen Helen Keller.
Doug Dunbar.
All right, thank you guys for tuning in. Sorry we missed you last week. Me and Miss Karen, we had the flu pretty bad, so we
were
under the weather.
A
little under the weather, so we're still hacking up a lung and a half.
I guess our engineer Zach Alicious is under the weather tonight. He's not with us, and we're having to manage this
by
all
ourselves.
by ourselves. So Karen's going to do a fine job.
I just want you all
but
to know.
But he's still producing from.
He is
still sending us texts and things.
Love him.
I just want you to know I've been smoking this cigar for the last half hour, and my lung feels great. I just want you to know. Okay. So if you guys want to reach out to us or want to do the show, you can reach out to us through Facebook or the Whiskey Roundtable at gmail.com. So if you have any questions or anything, want to do the show or find out some further events, all of our stuff is a month in advance for the calendar. And like I said in the past, we're going to do a whiskey, a bourbon, a scotch, and a rye whiskey as well. So I think that's what we have planned now. Next week we have a little special, so we're going to be, I'm already off the beaten path, just so y'all know.
He's going rogue.
So we are doing a cognac next week.
Now that's different.
This is different. So this is a very, very expensive, very good. I've had this several times, and the two gentlemen that own the company will be on the show next week, and we're gonna try this out. I think we're gonna like this. This is something you can get online. So beautiful.
I don't know that I've ever had cognac before.
It's very good. This does drink like a sweeter bourbon. You'd be surprised when you guys try it. I think you'll like it. So Ron is excited, and his partner. We're gonna have some fun. So Ray and Ron, if I remember correctly. So if I messed up, guys, I apologize. But
it's okay. It took him forever to learn my name.
That's true. I'm still learning.
He's still trying to forget.
Still trying to forget. I woke up yesterday in the sweats. Couldn't remember my wife's name. So, but I do remember Jimbo's name. That's all. That's important.
Right. We know who you love most.
Speaking of,
I'm hearing
pitter patter of elephant feet. So,
sidecar.
Somebody is, trying to find his way down the steps. But
anyway, so what are you smoking there?
I am smoking a Sancho Panza. So this is a triple aneo cigar, and I've never had it before, and it's pretty mild for a Maduro. I was surprised how mild it is. The only thing I don't like about it right out of the gate, it's a little dry. And I don't mean dry as the sense the cigar's dry. Sometimes you get a cigar that the smoke is dry. I don't know if you understand that or not. It kind of dries your mouth out a little bit. And it's not because it's under humidified or whatever. That's just the nature of the tobacco. But a lot of cigars that I smoke, it doesn't have that dryness to it. It's got a nice flavor to it. It's got a nice smoke to it. It doesn't dry my mouth out, but this is a little dry. So
you don't mind that, though, do you?
I don't mind it. It's not my preference. I mean, this isn't. If I didn't like it, I'd put it out, because you know me.
Yes.
I don't care what it costs. If I don't like it, it's going in.
Life's too short.
Amen. I hear
That's right. Great garbage.
Mm-hmm. So
what else is going on?
What else is new?
We're just getting over feeling better.
Oh, that was terrible.
And just to be clear, you did not have the coronavirus.
I did not have the coronavirus.
So
I think we had the pig flu.
I might have had the Great Lakes virus.
She had, yeah, but we had the.
It wasn't the coronavirus.
We had there's, I guess, I had to take Karen to an emergency. She had like almost 105 temperature, like 104.5. So I rushed her to emergency. Now, mind you, we're the only ones there in emergency at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And 3 hours later, they saw us. So
I'm just curious, like when they screened you in,
yeah,
did they ask you things like, have you been to China recently?
No,
they didn't. They didn't
like
ask
that.
me anything. They didn't ask me if I was out of the country, if I've been on a plane, but they were like, here's your mask.
Yeah, here's your mask.
Now go
Put
sit
this
down
on.
way over there.
Yeah.
I tried to put it on. I'm like, it doesn't fit. They're like, you're not supposed to wear it there. I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, here we go.
Yes.
Banana hammock.
I had a banana. I had half a banana hammock. Rotten banana. But anyway,
it was bad, man. You know, we were fighting the dogs for couch space. They were like,
they're like,
"What
move
are
over.
you two assholes doing home? Aren't you supposed? Don't you have jobs?"
This is our couch from 7 in the morning until 5 in the evening.
Well, I know we need to eventually get to whiskey here, but I'm just curious. Like, did you guys both get shot? The flu shot?
No, I don't believe in a flu shot.
I'm getting one this year,
You go
this
right ahead.
season.
Well, the only person at this table apparently did get sick did get a flu shot. So, for whatever that's worth, you know,
You did get sick?
No, I got the flu shot, and I'm the one here at the table that's never had the flu. This season.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Well, we haven't been sick
In
in a
fact,
few
I
years.
get it every year. I haven't had the flu in probably 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
Huh.
Just saying. Whatever. But
Well, we'll see, because I'm going to get it this fall.
You go ahead.
I am.
yeah,
I get it at
I
work, so.
recommend it, but that's everybody has to make their own choice. There.
Yeah.
Getting too old for this, man. It really kicked my butt.
This flu is nothing to mess around. Just the regular influenza still has about a 2.2% fatality rate. Anyway, let's talk about something more pleasant. So, all right, whiskey, right?
So
Alcohol.
So I'm going to, Big Sexy, I'm going to let you talk about your scotch here because I am not the scotch wizard like you are. So I'm going to let you introduce it and tell us all about it.
Today's whiskey is the Caol 12.
Cool.
Ela.
I was pronouncing it Caol.
Yeah, it's Caol.
Like,
Cool.
or Caol Ela. I mean, it's kind of in the cove that on the, I guess that would be the kind of the north side of the island, which is between, it's on right, next to Isle of Jura. And so Isla itself is not all that big, about 15 miles by 15 miles, something like that. And yet it is, to me, it's the epicenter of Scottish whiskey, at least for me. A lot of my favorite whiskeys in the world come from Isla. It's just there on the west coast, southwest coast of Scotland. It's really only about 20 miles from Ireland, Northern Ireland, and it's just about 10 miles off the coast of Scotland, or what would be Campbelltown, I guess, the Campbelltown Peninsula. It was a little rough going in the early years. It was shuttered during World War II due to the barley restrictions, and the whole building got demolished in 1972 and then rebuilt when it as part of a Diageo purchase project, and now it's the largest distillery on Isla, both size and production. It's already known as, one of the things I like about it, it's got one of the lighter characters of the Islas, yet it still has that thing that's quintessential about Isla whiskeys. It has that peat character. It has that campfire, a little bit of that, just the right amount of smoke that is really well balanced. I think people that really don't say they don't like the peated whiskeys still may like this whiskey. Now, we're doing our favorite loves this month for February, and this is in my top 10 favorite whiskeys. The Caol Ela 18 is my favorite whiskey in the world, and I recently, when I was traveling to Scotland last summer, I had the opportunity to buy a couple of bottles. So it's pretty rare. I've been searching for years to find it. So unfortunately, I wasn't really ready to open it up tonight. But
you should have opened it up.
Yeah.
But some occasion maybe we'll do that. For tonight, the 12 is a pretty close second. Like I said, it's up there in my top 10. And there's a lot of great whiskeys on Isla. I guess we can talk about some of the tasting notes when we dive into that. So,
okay.
But it's just, to me, it's got that character where Isla has really the best peat, quality peat of anywhere in Scotland. So
is that because of the terrain and all that stuff, or? The weather?
Yeah, it's just the combination of all the factors of geology, geography, all those things coming together. A lot of other distilleries try to get the peat that comes from Iowa, so if they can. But we talked about peat on a past episode. Little bit in short supply, but the Scottish weather and climate tends to continue to make enough peat to keep up with the amount that the Scotch industry is using up. But
Gotcha.
Now I know you're a world traveler. Have you been to this distillery before?
I've not been to Islay, even after having said what I said. It's the epicenter of my whiskey world. I've not been there yet. We did go to Skye last summer.
Okay.
Visited Talisker, which is also Diageo, and which is why they had the Caol 18 there for me to purchase. So
That's when you were swimming in the ocean with their
no,
group?
that was in Iceland.
Oh, Iceland.
Yeah,
I could tell it was cold over
that
there.
was our first stop on the last summer's travels.
Yeah.
But
Apparently you had a good time.
I did.
I would
Nothing
too.
Very
like
cool.
just getting in a volcanic hot spring and
Yeah.
be able to have a nice cold lager and hang
Is
out.
that what you call it? Okay.
It's rough living.
So Sidecar is back from Las Vegas. He snuck in here while we were doing our
Right.
thing. So what's up, Sidecar?
I can't believe you didn't hear him like he hasn't knocked something over or
Would
something.
you like
as
to?
he's-
You might learn something. It's all right.
He's so
Okay.
nice.
Use it as mouthwash.
You haven't had Nyla.
Hey, you can't
It
get
is-
the
it
taste
is
out of your mouth
ama-
after a week in Vegas. I don't know what to tell you.
It still
Goes
amazes
on
me.
Vegas, stays in Vegas.
Amen.
It does amaze me the number of people that are kind of one or the other.
Right.
Like I'm either a bourbon guy or I'm a Scotch guy, and I guess I'm one of those. I like them both.
Well, I
I'm
have
happy that I don't have to limit myself to one or the other.
to. I was never, ever a fan of Scotch. It was Joe that got me going
Yeah.
on Scotch. So I have to give Joe my props there. He's introduced me to a lot of different. He's got me drinking stuff Scotch that I thought I'd never drink in my life. I'm just
Well, I
like,
was surprised then because how much you like Lefroy, because
well, that was all him.
that's another island.
That was all him.
Yeah.
So all my Scotch knowledge at this point, which is somewhat but not a lot. I apologize. Not that Joe wasn't a good teacher. I just bourbon is my thing. Whiskeys, vodkas, that kind of stuff. But
That's
I
what your
do.
palate
It
goes
is my
to.
palate, but I do enjoy it, and the stuff that we tailored a lot of Scotch here to Joe's and mine, palate, so to say. But
So before we dig into the tasting on that, I wanted to quickly go over. So what are the Islay? On this little island we just talked about, Islay has, these are the Islay whiskeys: Ardbeg, Ardnahoe, Bowmore, Bruick Laddie, Bunnahabhain, Caol, Kilcoman, Lagavulin, Lefroy. So, yeah. So, and it would not take long to drive to all 8 of those if you were on Islay. So,
well,
Well,
what are you waiting on,
Scotland's not
son?
that
so
big.
I will be doing that.
We could
So-
almost walk there.
Yeah, yeah. That's right. That's right. Okay.
Excuse my
Aye,
coughing
aye,
over
aye.
here, kids. I apologize.
Well, I
So
do.
we-
I
go
do
ahead.
have a little bit of information other
Okay.
than what Doug was able
Wonderful.
to share, and I'm glad you pronounced it first because I kept saying Islay, and that's I know wrong. It's like calling a gyro instead of a euro, but so thank you for that. But as you mentioned, it did open in 1846, and the distillery was Hector Henderson, and he picked that little piece of the bay on the sound of what is it?
Well, it's I don't-
Not Islay.
no,
Islay?
It's on Islay sound.
Isla. Thank you. And he took the name from the sound itself. It's a Gaelic word, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Ella?
Cool.
Ila.
Ila.
Ila. Yeah, I wouldn't do well over there.
Gaelic's hard.
Yeah, it is. 1879, Cool Ila
Mm-hmm.
had its own pier where steamships or puffers came to unload supplies and load up on the whiskey for sale to the mainland. And in 1920, the company that owned it went into liquidation, and that's when Caol Distillery bought it
Took it over?
from them, took it over. And as you mentioned, Doug, 1941, because of the war, the limit on the number of people available, the
Barley.
and the barley, yes, the distillery had to close. When they did open up, fast forward about 30 years, 1972, they expanded. They had 2 stills, and now they have 6, which they still have 6 today. And in 1974, they rebuilt, as you mentioned, because of the supply of whiskey was such in demand, and it is the biggest distillery on Isla. I'll get it right someday. So if you're ever there, world traveler, and you want to go, so they do have tours that range anywhere from £7 to £27, which is equivalent to $9 to $35 American.
Right.
The $9 tour, it's just a regular distillery tour for about an hour. Then there's a couple others. The medium one, it gives you like an hour and a half tour. You get to, or an hour tour, I'm sorry. You get a little chocolate tasting with your whiskey. So that might be something worth trying. And then the $35 is an hour and a half tour where you go through the distillery and you actually get to sample some of their cask strength whiskeys. So
I'd die for that.
I was gonna say that's not bad for $35.
Yeah.
$35.
Yeah, that will be somewhere in my future for sure.
But it sounds like they might be going through another remodel over there at the distillery now. The website did say, they had their hours for their tours, but they said please call ahead or email ahead. Make sure you get the best availability because it sounds like they have some construction going on. So maybe they're due for another expansion. And then I found that the bottle runs for about $80.
That's about right. Yeah, 60 to 80, depending on where. 65 to $80.
Okay.
So, just from our history lesson. That's best we know. In about the 1300s, monks from Ireland brought it to Islay, possibly Campbelltown. But anyway, that.
Pass that to Doug, please.
One for you.
Yeah.
Dankeschön.
One for me. You have yours. Sidecar doesn't like scotch.
So obviously, one of the things we notice really quick is the light color.
Yeah, it's very light.
It's like the Glengoyne that we were sampling before the show. You had that typical straw golden color. This is a very, very mellow kind of a yellow.
So do you happen to know the proof on this? Because I know
it's a modest 86 proof.
I was gonna say, yeah, most of the Scottish and Irish are lower proofs.
You definitely get that.
A little smoke to it.
The smoke and peat, you definitely are going to pick that up because that's.
Definitely Scotch.
Yep, definitely Scotch.
When I have an Islay whiskey, I can tell you one of the things you get is because of the character of the peat there, it's high in some of the compounds that come from kelp, which has more of the bromine. So you definitely get the sea, kind of the oceanic quality of the that's also contributed from the air,
correct.
and from the peat that you use there. So you taste the peat, the ocean, all that.
I'm gonna give it a little taste, kids.
Okay, so I'll read.
Go ahead.
From Ryan Conklin from the Distillers app says, Caol Ila's 12-year whispers the sounds of Islay with more nuanced finesse, aromas, and flavor than most. At first sniff, hints of autumn rise out of the glass with apples, pears, and scents of the season's first fires. This is followed by vegetal notes, wet seagrass, and black tea, rounding out the palate. Flavors of spicy sweets, applewood, smoked ham are discovered before elegant peat smoke takes over. The whiskey finishes with hints of tart green apple, spicy white pepper, and a big salty sea smoke that lingers with memories of bonfires on the beach that burn long into the night.
I definitely get the smoke. I get the salt.
Did you
Believe it or
taste
not,
it already?
I did.
You get okay on the
I
taste.
did. So I haven't picked up any of the apple or fruits, if you will, but I definitely get the smoke. I definitely get the salt. It's got a lot going on. It's really good.
I got the apple right before I took a sip of it, and then I got the smoky peaty right away.
I get
just
a sweet fruit. I don't know if
Yeah.
it's apple that I'm
Right.
tasting, but I definitely get a sweet fruit to it.
I'm going to get that on there.
Wow.
I don't get that medicinal
Yeah, it's,
taste as strong
yeah, you
as
don't get-
some of the other
Right.
Islays
it's
that
not,
we've
it's
tried.
not super spicy at
Well,
all.
like a Lefroy is much
Bolder,
much
much bolder,
bolder than
right.
this was.
Absolutely.
Yeah, look, when we did the Lefroy, I couldn't. It just couldn't get it past the smell. But this is definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, I think this is a lot better than Lefroy.
So we used to have a Caol, is that how you pronounce it?
Gulila.
Caol, that Steve brought over from Scotland. That was so. I mean, you took off the cork, man, and you could smell that for hours.
It was like
It was
mushrooms.
like earthy, super smoky. It was in a green bottle, green box, and we had. Well, I wonder if I still have that. Or
It might be back there.
I wonder if I have that. So
We'll check after the show. And,
after the show, if it's back there, we're gonna pull that out and try it.
It's actually been some time since I've had the 12, and
So I don't even.
it's every bit as good for my tastes as I thought it would be.
But I know it was something that that you couldn't get in the States.
Now, this is the first time you've had the 12 in a while. Have you had other years?
Well, to be honest, I've had the 12 and I've had the 18.
And what's
And
the
that's-
difference
that's-
between?
I would say, and we've talked about this before. I think, particularly with Scottish whiskey, I found that a lot of them reach their peak at about 18 years, and the 18 is a little richer, a little fuller than this. While some, not, it's very, I don't want to say mellowed, but it's got a very nice softness and a lot of complexity.
Okay, interesting.
It's something that just made me kind of gasp the first time I had it, and then went back a second time, and then visited a friend who also had some, and I had the same experience where I was kind of, oh man, wow, that I just can't describe it. It's been.
I tell you what,
It's my favorite so far.
I get a sea salt finish, man.
Yeah,
Definitely.
You get the ocean, obviously
You
the
really
peat
do.
lends the smokiness,
Yep. It's great.
and like I said, the peat from Isla has more of the bromine compound, so it has a lot. It gives it that sea character as well, and just the air, as we've talked about, from that air exchange in the cask over all those years, you get to see a little bit of the ocean infuses through there as well. So.
It's
yeah,
good.
Definitely
Very
get
good.
that. It
I'm
is
gonna-
good.
I'm gonna
I was
finish it.
I was a little afraid.
You were a little scared.
I knew.
And,
I knew it
I
probably
wasn't sure
good.
what to expect.
If you
but
could tolerate it, I was going to be happy.
I can.
Yeah.
I can. I think it's very
It
good.
was good. It was very good.
Thank you for sharing
Yeah,
this.
fantastic. Thank you so much.
So it's in my top 10.
I see that.
I haven't actually written out the list, but
I
Well,
finished.
we have,
I would
we
that's
have
just
a-
an estimate. But
We have another glass here. Why don't we share that little glass? What do you think?
oh, I'm certain of that.
Okay, I'm gonna give myself a little something over here.
I'll pass
Pass
that
that
down.
on to Doug.
Here you go.
Very good. And like I said, after the show, I'm gonna go see if I have that other bottle.
Oh, you might still have
I
it.
might still have it. It's been. Steve would know. My brother would know longer than me. I bet you I've had that bottle
10 years.
10 years, if not 12.
I'm still amazed how many times I just bring up anything and I can just look at Greg and go, how many bottles do you have? And he'll go, well, I 2.
I might have a couple of those.
We went to shop.
I might surprise you every once in a while. Too funny.
That does surprise me that you have that.
Very,
Okay.
very good.
When you cough, man, I see that
I know.
mic
Yeah,
go
sorry,
peak.
kids. Sorry if I'm coughing you guys out here. I mean, I feel 100%. Like I said, I've been smoking this cigar. My lungs good, and
Your one lung?
my one lung, my half lung. And,
Is that part of that's recommended
part of
when
therapy?
You, yeah.
Part of therapy.
Your doctor said
I really haven't.
go have a good cigar.
I haven't smoked a cigar in over a week.
That's
Really?
yeah.
I knew I was sick when I had one beer that
I
Saturday
think
before I came down.
I think
with
I
it.
smoked a cigar last week, Sunday, a week ago Sunday, with with you, Ralph. We had a cigar. We were watching car shows down there, and that was the last cigar I had. So it's been a while. It's been almost 2 weeks.
You're back in the game.
Back in the game. I thought I was out the game. Now I'm back in the game.
I still and I get a little bit of like maybe lemon peel and a little bit of.
Man, I'm not
little bit
getting
of
it.
heather. Little bit of heather.
I don't know about Heather. Janet, I might. I don't get
Little
Heather.
bit of Monica in it. Isn't that a song?
Mm-hmm.
I forget what that was.
Oh, it's a Disney thing. That some kind of.
Not
Yeah.
getting any
Disney
of this.
Channel.
I'm not getting any of the citrus.
All right.
Just not getting it. Maybe because I don't have that palate for Scotch, so to say.
I got it more on, like I said, when I went to go take a sip. You know how you inhale before
Yeah.
you sip, and that's when I tasted.
I do get
and
the
smelled
green
the
apple, but I get it.
Mhm.
I get it more on the nose than the palate.
Yep,
It's
totally
very
agree.
good.
I do. It's definitely that sea
Yeah.
taste.
That's how I can
salt.
see whiskey.
Arr, maybe.
Yeah, but you mentioned the chocolate. I think all the Isla whiskeys go really well with chocolate, and because of the smoky character, they're really great with like, smoky meats and things, sausages, and
Awesome. So let me ask you a question.
yeah.
We got any whiskey wizard going on today?
I think it's probably about time for the
Probably
wizard.
about
You want to check it out? He
That's-
wore his hat this week.
That's about damn time.
Yeah. I don't know if I'll wear it if I do any remote shows, but
What?
Oh,
Right.
come on.
do I need to?
You don't
Don't
have
play,
to if you
come
don't
on.
want to, but that's part of your gig, man. You do
All right.
whatever sexy wants to do,
Okay.
man.
All
You-
right.
You
Sexy
got,
do what sexy
You got a
wanna
free
do.
pass to do whatever you want. You know that.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's see what the wizard has to say this week.
All right. Probably something. I'm hoping it's something educational.
We're going to talk about color, I think.
Oh. Let's
See?
talk about color with the Irish people.
There you go. All right, you guys. We'll be right back.
So long.
See you in a few.
Hello, and welcome to the Whiskey Wizard, where we say that whiskey making takes scientific knowledge and artisan skill and dedication, and a bit of the wizard's alchemy of light, air, earth, and fire. After the aroma and taste of whiskey, one of the other traits most often considered by whiskey lovers is the color. Personally, I am influenced by the subtle and varying character of a whiskey's color. In a bourbon, I favor a nice ruddy, full tincture with some clarity, allowing ample light to shine through and bring its glory forth. With Scottish whiskies, I appreciate the more soft golden tones, reminiscent of an autumn awakening. Even though I do appreciate some of those scotches that seem to have been gathering the full earthen tones to become more like the peat itself, that thing that is most Scottish about Scottish whiskey. In ryes, I'll take the full spectrum they present and the clues that the varying colors lend as to what the taste and character may be. All grain whiskey spirit emerging from the still is clear. As we talked about before, the natural colors eventually imparted to the whiskey come from the oak barrel that was its resting place for many weeks, mellowing and gathering flavors in the wood, its previous contents, if any, and charcoal-fired internal cooking. As the ebb and flow of seasonal warm and cold knead the whiskey in and out of the wood, the color develops in proportion to its time in the barrel. We'll cover barrel aging and all those details of flavor development again in a later episode, no doubt. But not all color in all whiskeys comes from the wood. Some is added artificially for aesthetics and consistency. Yes, E150A caramel color is used by many whiskey brands to give that distinctive golden brown color. However, even without the caramel, whiskey is naturally a yellow to deep golden brown. In order to have a consistent tone from batch to batch and also to match customer expectations, some additional color additives are often, but not always, used. Typically, the additive is the caramel E150A. E150A is plain caramel made by heating carbohydrates, usually sugar or sucrose, and there are other similar colors in the E150 flavor family, but normally it's the E150A that is used for whiskey. So I guess this means that while artificially added, that does not necessarily mean it's artificial. It's made from heating natural sugars with some additional refining to neutralize flavor contribution as much as possible. Some tasters, though, say that they can taste a caramel color influenced whiskey. I don't really know about that. Charred on the inside. And while some of the color comes from the oak and char, some also comes from the previous spirit that was first aged in the barrel. Once again, the longer the whiskey is aged, the more color it will acquire. Bourbon naturally gains its rich color from virgin oak barrels that have been toasted and then charred before being filled. The more thickness the char has, the more it tends to filter and help add more color to the whiskey over time. Of course, with natural color comes natural flavor compounds, and that's why we all love whiskey. When American whiskeys gather those toasted flavors like coconut, campfire, marshmallow, and vanilla from the wood, in balance with the fruity and spicy notes, that's what truly excites me. But that's my preference. Don't let me color your opinion. I personally hope that what I'm tasting in my favorite whiskey is all coming from the mash and the spirit character married with the effects of its interaction with the wood over many seasons in the aging house. That's it for this edition of the Whiskey Wizard. I'm Doug Dunbar, the Whiskey Wizard for the Whiskey Roundtable, and now back to the live show.
All right, kids.
All right, way to go, whiskey. But just a
So
few weeks you had to, it just sits there for a few weeks?
No, I mean, that was she caught the one error. I said it after its many weeks in the cask, of course. Well, it is true. It did spend many weeks in the cask. Typically one would say many years, which is what I meant to say, but...
I'm just calling you out because you called yourself
it's not,
on it.
Yeah, I know.
I'm giving you
Yeah.
hard time.
Sure.
It's nice to know someone else other than me screws up every once in a while.
Yeah.
So they don't have that problem.
But I was kind of, amazed to find out that so many whiskeys, they actually add color,
Artificial color.
Well,
Yeah.
they're coloring it artificially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The material they put in it's not artificial, it's natural. But what they want to do is get their product to a consistent color, and so they add just enough to get a consistent tone with every batch. So again, like I said, there's some tasters that think they could taste when a whiskey's been colored. But I guess I'm a purist about it. I prefer the whiskey is the color that was imparted by its whole history in the barrel, and that's it. If there's a little different variation between batches, or so be it.
That's right.
Awesome.
Very good.
Awesome.
All right, you guys got news?
I do have a little news.
You got news?
Yeah, you'll have a little bit.
Sure. I got a little bit. All right. You got a few things? I got a few things.
Back over there.
All right.
You want to start?
I'll start.
Okay.
So, Four Roses. Four Roses. Not only Four
one
Roses.
of our favorites.
Four Roses Select will be hitting the shelves in Ohio this year. How about that, huh? Also be in California. Yeah, I'm sorry. Be Colorado, Florida, Illinois, Indiana, Massachusetts, Michigan, Missouri, New Jersey, North Carolina, Tennessee, Washington, and Wisconsin. So
It's coming to Jersey?
going to Jersey. So Brent Elliott, Master Distiller at Four Roses, Small Batch Select, showcases some of the bourbon recipes and flavors that aren't as forward-facing in the rest of our lineup of single barrels. So Small Batch and Four Roses bourbon. Elliott, who was recently Master Distiller Blender of the year at the Icons Whiskey Awards, introduced Small Batch Select last year as a fourth expression in the brand's permanent line. Bottled without chill filtration at 104 proof. The bourbon is a blend of 6 of the 10 Four Roses bourbon recipes. How about that? So that's good stuff. I can't wait. We have
Yeah,
some.
it sounds like.
We do have some of that, but
Oh, okay.
some of the select. I got one out of Texas probably 3 months ago. I haven't yet to open it.
I would have expected nothing less.
So nice. I'll let you try some too. So
You want to give a little bit of news?
Well, conditions for farmers. Now, it's just me, maybe, the way my mind works, but isn't there anybody on the planet that might actually benefit if it got warmer or if the climate changed? Why is it detrimental to everybody? There's got to be places that are overly cold and damp that will eventually benefit, but
sure.
Ohio.
you
Yeah,
know.
we go through it every day.
But
Well, Ohio's
anyway,
the
if
only
anybody
place
has an answer to that, send us a line on the Whiskey Roundtable at gmail.com. But the 5-year study found that there's a key ingredient in beer and whiskey production, and they've isolated, for this key ingredient, they've isolated the drought-resistant gene, HVMYB1, if anybody was wondering. The gene is one of 39,000 genes in the plant.
Wow.
And anyway, this was credit at the Harriet Wyatt University in Edinburgh. And this finding is supposed to have many ramifications for cereal crop growing amid increasing challenges caused by climate change. So that's that. But anyway, so can make more drought-resistant barleys, which, again, I would say that's probably going to be more of a benefit to places that want to get into whiskey making and barley production that maybe can't today because they are too hot or too dry. So
Awesome.
I don't think Scotland's going to worry about getting too hot anytime soon.
I agree with that.
Or too dry.
Or too sunny outside.
I don't see many signs that it's getting desert-like in Scotland. So
So the barley is safe.
Barley is
I
safe.
think it's safe in Scotland anyway.
Alright.
Okay.
What about the water?
Well,
It's wet.
yeah.
So what? Thank God.
Got anything else, Chief?
I do.
Yeah.
All right. Buffalo Trace products Blanton's Gold will begin hitting the shelves this summer as a limited annual release. That means probably 15 cases per the United States is what my thought is.
That's it?
No, it doesn't say, but I mean, Blanton's is, I know stores that get 3 bottles at the most. I mean, it's ridiculous, but whatever.
How much is in a case?
They just spend how many millions of dollars expanding their plant. Now I know that Buffalo Trace doesn't own Blanton's; they just make it for a company out of, was it China? Some foreign company.
No idea.
So look that up. I don't think I'm wrong, but check it out.
How many Blantons come in a case?
6 in a case.
6. Okay.
6 in a case. Times.
1, 2, 3. No, just do
Okay.
your news.
All right. So Blanton's Gold will be hitting the shelves at 103 proof, kids, rather than the standard 93 proof. It's currently available outside the U.S., which we all know. See a lot of Blanton's Gold posted on Instagram and Facebook. I see all kinds. So that stuff's all been muled over from somewhere other than the United States. The entire Blanton's family consists of single barrel bourbons and includes other international releases like cast strength straight from the barrel 80 proof Blanton's Special Reserve, which is the green label. The green label. Again, that's something else you can't get.
Yeah.
They say that the reason why Blanton's is so hard to get here in the States, that I've been told, is because most of it now is sent overseas. And it's hard to get. And they have more offerings overseas than they do here in the United States where it's made. So that's always kind of a bummer. As much as I like, Buffalo Trace products and Sazerac and Dwellers and everything else, it's like, again, you know, we're second in line instead of first, and that kind of sucks to me. So, but you know, I'll continue to drink your products just because I have to.
Twist his
So,
arm.
twist my arm. But so look for that. Look for that. You know, Blanton's was former maker Elmer T. Lee. So
Former maker.
Elmer T. Lee is who started Blanton's.
Oh, okay.
I mean, who? So
I gotcha. Yeah.
okay. So all the names of the Buffalo Trace products are somebody that had once owned the distillery at some point. So or master distillers. So that's really all I have as far as the Blanton's goes. And the suggested retail price is $120. Just so you know. So stay tuned. See what happens. All right, kids. That's all the news
Well,
that
that sounds about right though, because regular Blanton's they're trying to sell for what, 80 now?
Well, I pay $65 for it plus tax, no
Yeah.
matter what I buy. So, you know, I see it on the secondary market for anywhere from $89 to as much as $150. And then if you're in California, you might be able to pick one up for $500.
Yikes.
So it's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous.
Yikes.
But and you know what? I say this, and this is something again that me and Joe have talked about several times. Blanton's is good, but it's not my favorite. Really isn't my favorite.
No, I would say that.
You know,
me personally.
I think it's the you know, if you have a bottle of Blanton's on your table, you know that's the cool thing to do. I'm not. I can care less about Blanton's.
The
Really.
Buffalo Trace.
Buffalo Trace
picks
single barrel,
you'll
the
take.
picks. I'll take those
So-
any day.
The guy who could care less. How many cases of Blanton's?
I have quite a few.
But that's just because you're
So,
a smart
but I do.
whiskey
But
club.
you know, but
It's always
you know,
good.
a lot of you know people talk. You know, people get a little irritated because of my supply of Blanton's, which is a lot. Okay, but you know, the reality is, and anybody that knows me, I have given away cases of Blanton's total.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
it is
Christmas
popular,
gifts,
so-
friends. You
and
know,
that's
people.
good to trade.
You know, it's good. It's good. You know, trade.
Right.
I'll trade somebody equal for something
Yeah,
else, but
right.
you know, I'm not too particular. But right now, you know, there's no more trade on the Cleveland Bourbon Co-op, none of that stuff. So as far as that goes, that you know, that garage is closed. So it is what it is, man. So I just have to stare at it. That's all. That's all I got.
Unless you know
I
somebody.
have
who
other
knows somebody.
ideas.
Yeah,
But,
you and a bunch of other people I know.
What else you got there, Dougie
New
Doug?
York University Tannen School of Engineering did a little study, and just so you know, we know that our universities are busy doing good study work. They decided to see what really happened. So comparing ice cubes in whiskey, what would work better? Small ice cubes versus a large cube stone versus one of those pewter or those
Whiskey
Right,
stones.
whiskey
like?
stones.
non
Right,
yeah the kind you just put in the fridge. That,
right.
and so I'm going to take a guess that my whiskey colleagues here can figure out what was the most effective at chilling, even without having to do a university study. So, what do you think the results were? So, what do you think chilled the whiskey the most quickly, and the most? The
I would-
chipped ice, the large single cube, or the large pewter?
I
brick?
personally, and this is I'm being my own personal opinion because I know that I don't like ice in my whiskey. Now, if you can literally be able to take distilled water and do a compact ice cube that's going to last a few hours, that's
This
great.
is about what would chill it.
What would
But
the
chill
what
it
most,
chills the
fast.
and the most
quickest?
quickly.
I'm going to say the stone.
And my vote's with the chipped ice.
You're correct.
Okay.
It seems to me common sense because the surface area, right? A bunch of small cubes are going to chill the fastest. The regular ice cube, because remember the specific heat of water is pretty high, whereas that middle cube or that pewter cube that you put in there really isn't going to have that specific heat like a big ice cube is going to have. So of course that performed the worst.
But
So but maybe you don't want to chill your whiskey a
Yeah,
lot.
I mean,
Maybe
I
that's
like
good.
it. I like it a little chilled. It doesn't have to be cold, but I like it. You know, especially on a hot day. You know, sometimes you're
Yeah.
so even if it's
Yeah.
80, 84, 85, and you're sitting outside and you're at a party and you're having a drink, and the next thing you know, you're sweating like you just got off the treadmill. I don't
Yeah.
like that. You know,
But
so I like to have something that's cool,
mhm.
but not. And the reason I don't like ice is because it just kind of kills it.
no,
I'm not a fan.
you
You
know,
don't
small
like the
bunch
watered
of
down?
small cubes.
Yeah.
And, no, but I think that one brick, the block of ice,
Mhm.
work with whiskey. So we're always interested in that. They did another study, and this was at the University of Richmond, that really did blind tasting comparisons. So I guess the conclusion is if you're really gonna compare whiskeys, really, and try to do it in a way that doesn't have any bias, you really need to do blind tasting. If you're comparing whiskeys and rating them, so they found there's a lot of bias that people have. You know, if they profess to dislike something, then they're going to tend to carry that through if they know what it is. The opposite's also true. If we've romanticized a whiskey or some brand because of an association, say our grandfather loved it, or we carry those biases with us as well. To me, that, you know, that's okay. That part for me sometimes, if you've gone to for example, a distillery and they treated you real well and you just had a really wonderful experience, I think we've all come out of something like that and liking that brand more.
Sure,
Right.
absolutely.
And that I think is good. That's natural because, you know, when you really want to like something and sometimes, you know, your taste will gravitate that way. But
That's a great idea
it is,
for
yeah.
a whiskey roundtable show.
Yeah,
a
we-
blind
so I was
tasting.
just going to say, in conclusion, I feel a whiskey roundtable challenge coming up on a future show, a blind taste challenge. We'll have to figure out how to do it in the right way,
You ever had
so
BV
that
8 year?
it's, huh?
You ever had BV 8 year?
Yeah.
Real tomato
Yeah.
ketchup, Ed?
Sorry. But we should take some things that, you know, we profess to like, maybe some things that we don't like. We'll design it well so it's interesting and fun, and then do some blind tasting and try to sort out what we think is what and what we actually like versus, and rank them, and then take the
Oh,
blindfolds off, see how we actually did.
That'd be cool.
I'm up for that.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
We'll try it. Awesome.
Right.
Awesome.
And just one last thing, Blackbone bourbon, new offering, 11-year-old single barrel bourbon, $149.99 a
Oh, I
bottle.
thought you were going to say proof.
From the same folks that bring us
I'm in.
Redemption Rye.
I'm in.
This sounds very intriguing to me. That's why I brought it up. It's distilled. It was distilled in July of 2008, bottled in November 2019, last year. 11-year-old, has a very compelling profile. They say slightly lighter in body than you'd expect given the age, but overcompensates for any missing weight with tons of bright flavors dominated by a zesty candy orange peel, freshly cut cedar. It is bottled uncut and unfiltered, clocks in at 56.2% ABV. That sounds very intriguing to me. So
It
maybe
does sound.
some future.
We can try it.
Do you have any bottles?
I don't. I could probably
Not
get
that he
one.
knows of.
Every once in a while. Every once in a while that happens.
All right. Well,
All
before
right.
we end the show, I just want to revisit this. This is next week. Next week, Friday, we'll have two guests on that have made this product. It's a cognac, and it's fantastic. So looking forward to hanging out with both these cats. Very good stuff. It's about $275, $280 a bottle. Very, very good. And
I'm looking for a little education on cognac when they come in here.
I have spoken with them, with Ray, and he's going to get us all the information and send it over this week, if not this weekend. So
Great.
We'll get all that stuff, and hopefully we can. I'm sure those guys will probably, pretty much own the show next Friday, and it's going to be a whole new learning experience. I've had this several times. and it's very, very good. So look forward to having these guys on, and I look forward to you guys watching the show next week as well. So is that it, kids?
Well, by the way, this 12-year-old was
Yes,
a
sir.
gift from Chris, who
All right.
we had here
Yeah.
for not on one of our actual casts, but a kind of a warm-up cast. But he will be back for a
Good.
future episode where we've promised to talk about the Whiskey Rebellion
Uh-huh.
Nice. Even though
And,
he's from Pittsburgh.
near Philadelphia. If you made it, thanks
Awesome.
for watching.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, kids. Well, listen, you all have a great weekend. I guess we're supposed to get a lot of snow overnight. Hopefully not. And drive
Stock
safe.
up on the alcohol.
Sit home, have a cigar, light a candle, watch Hee Haw, enjoy some drinks. We'll catch up with you guys next week. I'm your host, Big G.
This is Karen Helen Keller.
Doug Dunbar.
See you guys later.
Good night,
Thank
everyone.
You.
Be
Good
So
night.
long,
safe.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
If whiskey stopped working, every bar in town would be closing their doors, shutting down. Everybody would be trapped with their thoughts, 'cause nothing numbs the pain like bourbon or scotch. Oh no, oh no, no. If whiskey stopped working, where the hell would I be? Probably wasting lots of money trying therapy. If whiskey stopped working, what the hell would I do? Honestly, to tell you the truth, I wouldn't be over you. If whiskey stopped working, if whiskey stopped working, if whiskey stopped working, if whiskey stopped working, oh, whiskey stopped working, if whiskey stopped. Poor Jack D would be out of a job. Jameson and Bean would be cut off. Hank Williams songs wouldn't make any sense. Yeah, this whole damn world would be a mess. Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. If whiskey stopped working, where the hell would I be? Probably wasting lots of money trying therapy. If whiskey stopped working, what the hell would I do? Honestly, to tell you the truth, I wouldn't be over you. If whiskey stopped working, if whiskey stopped working, if whiskey stopped working, if whiskey stopped working, oh, whiskey stopped working, if whiskey stopped, oh. If whiskey stopped working, where the hell would I be? Probably halfway out of this town, leaving Tennessee.